Our strength grows through community. This has been a lesson I've come to realize over the time of my personal life, through my personal communities as well as professional communities. Today, I'm so delighted to share a few stories about the power of community in our learning, growth, and in making our world a better place. It all starts off with a shifting moment in my life. That moment is called Hurricane Katrina. Back in 2005, I was a second grade teacher. I loved every aspect of waking up every day, working with the students that I was charged to help learn and grow. But then this event happened that pulled me away from my students in my classroom and put me into the Hyatt Hotel, which you see here. The night of Hurricane Katrina, the storm was so strong that it knocked out the windows within the building. The very next day, there was water about thigh high that kept rising throughout the city of New Orleans. It was at that point I knew I wasn't going to see my students for a very long time and things were going to be very different. It was then when I knew my community was at its worst, but I realized how much we needed one another. So the people who was around me, who now became my community instead of my classroom, were there for each other with positive messages, positive stories to try to get each other through this treacherous time. It is also through those communities after Hurricane Katrina that I realized that empathy was needed in order to strengthen relationships. So people across all walks of life came together to grow the city and be there for the people who needed each other the most. We see the same thing happen during this past year of a global pandemic. This was a shifting point for our entire world when COVID-19, at a moment's notice, shifted how we looked at education and what our schools needed. And during this pandemic, we saw educators across the globe coming together to support one another in learning and growth during this challenging time. So we see from our friend Scott Nunes in California, he reined Andy Knieven in to share a little bit about how he can use technology tools for remote learning with a podcast. And our friend Elena from Russia had guests from around the world, including South Korea, Taiwan, and she's from Russia, come together once again to talk about tools that could be effective with students during this time of remote learning. And finally, Maria Jose, our friend from Argentina, had friends from Thailand and Vietnam and Bangladesh talking once again about how important it is for us to come together, learn and grow from one another during these challenging times. Now, this notion of what happened when these educators came together is called collective efficacy. This is when educators share a belief that through their unified efforts, they can overcome challenges and achieve intended results. Professor Albert Bandura is the father of collective efficacy. When he studied the effects of educators and other groups working together, the improved results happened when the group worked together versus individual efforts towards the same goal. And these things really start off with a simple question. So in this example, our friend Yaritza Vijalba from New York had educators asking her questions. How do you encourage students to use Flipgrid when they are uncomfortable with recording themselves? This one question led to not only Yaritza sharing a resource that she created to support fellow educators, but other educators chiming in, sharing their beautiful ideas of how to engage students when they are uncomfortable with a technology tool. We also see this throughout the broader MIEE community. It is a global community of like-minded educators that leverage ideas and feedback on teaching, learning, technology, integration, and classroom experiences together. They are recognized and celebrated with different opportunities to connect with Microsoft Education. And this is where I had the pleasure of meeting so many MIEE experts in Redmond, Washington, back in early 2020. During this time, I was able to see the strength of that community come together from various school districts to share their knowledge and expertise, which really helped prepare them for the global pandemic. In addition to this, the professional and career development opportunities and certifications allow these educators to not only make connections with one another, but to grow themselves in their respective school districts. And once again, I had the pleasure of connecting with so many of them that it took things to the next level. So for example, our friend David Olinger from O'Day High School reached out after we met at that MIEE summit to discuss ways that they could improve the innovative ideas that they are implementing in their school district. This led to our team supporting David, not only with a keynote, but different sessions focused on diversity and inclusion, focused on using Flipgrid to spark creativity, and also English language learning, areas that their school had as a top priority. We also see that we have schools across our globe, including Escuela Técnica Roberto Roca, which is a secondary technical school from Campana, a city located about 80 kilometers from Buenos Aires. And it is one of the most relative and relevant productive centers in the country. During this time frame, the school had teams of educators and families coming together to think about how they could use technology in their future careers, such as Office and AI. They also have been using Microsoft Teams for the past 3 years, which helped them during this COVID-19 time period, which allowed them to easily move to those virtual lessons where we saw many schools didn't know where they should start. And so from these ideas of collective efficacy, we know that when people come together, especially diverse perspectives, great things can also happen. So Microsoft also provides a wealth of resources for educators in their Microsoft Educator Center. This is a place where educators can do learning on their own through various courses centered around best practices in education. But as we know, sometimes that journey can be very lonely when it comes to learning and growth. And we're better, once again, with that notion of collective efficacy of doing the work together. So Microsoft's team came together with experts across the field and educators to put together an anti-racism journey for educators with students, especially after the unfortunate events that have been happening around our globe centered around racial discrimination. So as a result, we thought about how can we better support educators in this learning path with one another. So we decided to create a professional learning community, otherwise known as a PLC, for educators to come together and learn about race, equity, justice, about the systematic disparities that have been placed within our school systems over time and how to dismantle that. So we had educators step up to the challenge and join this professional learning community, such as Priscilla Heredia from New Jersey, and Louis Oliveira from Rhode Island, and Desiree Alexander from Louisiana, and Professor Ramesh Langani from Doane University, and our expert Becky Keene in the MIEE community, all just once again come together to not only learn, but also to discuss this important topic. And one of the statements that came from one of the participants was that it was amazing to have conversations with others interested in the same thing. And the course itself was amazing. Just for those two reasons, educators should join this. So what we see in this example is a personal commitment from educators, but the power within the community to hear from diverse perspectives, question things that maybe are confusing to them, and offer just once again another way to open the minds and open the hearts and impact our students. So one amazing educator who participated in this professional learning community is Yuritsa Vijalba. Yuritsa has a series right on Flipgrid called Ask Yuritsa, and this focuses on culturally responsive teaching. Now, we know a part of addressing so many of the pieces of discrimination comes into recognizing who your students are and having that be a part of your classroom environment. So Yuritsa, an educator in the community, created topics for other educators to engage their students in. And during this PLC, she was able to speak from her own perspective and support the other educators who were a part of this professional learning community. As a result, another amazing MIE expert who actually was just named one of the MIE Rookies of the Year, Jennifer Mahan. She is a K-5 STEM and Tech Integrator Specialist from rural Kansas. She wanted to make positive changes after attending that professional learning community and bring diversity of people and ideas and ways of living to her students through literature. Now we know how literature can have the power to introduce people to worlds they've never seen or stepped foot in. So this is why it's so important for our classroom libraries to be full of diverse stories that reflect students' backgrounds, cultures, as well as the backgrounds and cultures of others. So as she improves her student library, the students will now have that opportunity to learn and grow from various perspectives and offer a new way of thinking than what they were used to before. So another example that we see comes from Ecuador. They were convinced of how important personnel, constant training, and innovation are. We know our MIE experts are learning and growing from one another, but they're taking that learning back to those within their own communities. So this school was super innovative and incorporated the 6 C's with computational thinking, our code, Minecraft, and language development to have their teachers, staff, students, and families come together to make positive changes during the COVID-19 period. So we also know that in order to have a strong community, empathy is built to strengthen those relationships. And we see this happening every single day on our platform at Flipgrid. Our mission at Flipgrid is our community's mission to empower every learner on the planet to share their voice and to respect the diverse voices of others. Our community is our why. It's that magic crystal ball. Every day, we go to our community first and foremost to listen to their ideas, hear about their challenges, and make positive changes to a simple platform that can have impactful results for their students. And this all started off, once again, with a question. It started at the University of Minnesota, where Dr. Charlie Miller was a professor in the College of Education with only 12 master's and PhD level students. And during this time, Dr. Charlie Miller had the great opportunity to travel the globe to study education. And once again, we see this power in community. When we go and we speak to diverse perspectives, our minds are expanded. So Charlie had the opportunity to learn what education looked like and felt like and the challenges that remote areas were having when it came to education. He then used that knowledge to then think about other things that we can do to improve education globally. And during this time, he also had a challenge. He could not connect with his students in the way that he wished to connect with them, like if he was face to face. So, of course, when we have a problem, we start thinking of possible solutions. And with his knowledge of coding, Charlie and his friend Brad coded for about 40 hours the very first version of Flipgrid to provide a platform for his students to be able to share their ideas and their voice through video. Now, this is the very first version of Flipgrid, and what Charlie realized as he built this platform for his students, that not only did he learn where his students were in their process of learning, but the students began interacting with one another. And that was the power of that community. They were able to empathize with each other based upon their unique situations. They were able to learn and grow from the various perspectives that they provided from one another. So with this tool being implemented in the classroom, it was a learning piece for everyone, especially for the birth of Flipgrid, that social learning really is fueled by the power of the people within that community. So once again, we at Flipgrid start with a community because we know that is where the magic happens. You are our magic crystal ball. Our community guides everything within our mission. And this was one thing that was appealing and drew me to using Flipgrid. Of course, as someone who is a technology enthusiast and specialist within the schools, I knew the power of technology and what technology had to transform our schools. And so when I found Flipgrid, it was a no-brainer to begin sharing Flipgrid with others. But it was really that community that welcomed me in and got me connected with others in the community to continuously learn and grow. We see this continuously happening by our educators as well as our team at Flipgrid interacting with each other on a daily basis because we are a community together. So one of our designers, Cindy, shares that she is inspired by the community and getting feedback from the community, which allowed Cindy to create ASL stickers to be more inclusive, to share all voices. In addition to that, we have our friend Sam, who really listened to the community about the number of characters within a topic. As educators, we know that content as well as prompts and questions might spark thinking for our students. And so educators said, hey, we need more characters. So our team listened and our friend Sam worked to implement the suggestion. And thanks the community for making Flipgrid the best that it can be. So such a very simple tool, as I mentioned before, where a student can just click their record button and share their voice is so much more. It allows our students, once again, to have a collective efficacy, to learn and grow from each other, to know that they have that support from one another. Their diverse voices coming together is that interconnectedness that we know works when we have people of diverse backgrounds and experiences coming together to talk about content. And then finally, we know that once students share their voice, then the reciprocal piece is the empathy is built. We get to know people on a different level. We become a little closer to them than we ever were before. And our team at Flipgrid values this every day. We celebrate it. We celebrate you. We celebrate your scholars because, once again, this is going to make our world such a better place. This design process is something very simple that also can be implemented in your classroom. So think about your students as that magic crystal ball. The ideas, the experiences that they have make your classroom a rich and inviting space. Give them the opportunity to share what's working for them. Give them the opportunity to share what's challenging for them. And then have the whole group come together to problem solve, test things out, try things again. That is the power of community in your classroom. And also, have fun with it. Just like at Flipgrid, we have the opportunity to connect with educators and students in their own environments. We celebrate while we are there. We empower them while we are there, and we have fun doing it. So each and every day, think about those fun elements that you can embed within your school, district, or learning environments that can make every student feel comfortable and confident in who they are so that we can truly empower every voice. Remember, you are not in this alone. This is the power of community. So we invite you to get involved with the Flipgrid Student Voice Ambassadors, the Microsoft Innovative Educator Expert Community, as well as the Microsoft Showcase School community to continuously learn and grow and empower every voice. Thank you for joining us today.